45x squared minus 3x minus 18. We want to factor this trinomial, and what I always want to do first is ask the question, is there a common factor for 45, 3, and 18? And the answer is yes. You always want to start there. I can factor a 3 out of all this, which means I can divide each one of these numbers by 3, right? So I'll pull a 3 out to the side. 45 divided by 3 is 15, so now I have 15x squared. Negative 3 divided by 3 is just a minus 1, so I'll have a minus x. And then negative 18 divided by 3 is minus 6. Alright, so now I have a simplified expression here, but I need to factor this, and I've got the 15 out here. So the first step I need to take in order to be able to factor this, I need to multiply 15 by negative 6. And if you multiply 15 by negative 6, what you're going to get is a negative 90. Okay, so now I need two numbers. When I multiply them together, give me negative 90. When I add them together, give me negative 1, because this is a minus 1x, right? Okay, so this is a negative number. I'm going to need a positive number and a negative number, and it looks like the two that are going to work would be negative 10 and 9, right? Negative 10 times 9 is negative 90, but when you add negative 10 to 9, you get a negative 1. So now we want to rewrite this expression here. So I'm going to leave the 3 off to the side here. And then I'm going to have 15x squared minus 10x. And I'm going to kind of, well, yeah, plus 9x minus 6x, or minus 6, not 6x. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to isolate this expression here, 15x squared minus 10x, and isolate that one. So I'll do that by putting extra parentheses in here, like this. Alright. Now I have to look at each of them individually and ask the question, okay, what's the greatest common factor for 15 and 10? And the answer is 5. So I want to factor a 5 out of that expression right there. So I'm going to, again, drop my 3 here. I'll make that a bracket so that I know it's different than the parentheses inside. I'm going to factor a 5 out. And then what I'll be left with inside is 3x squared minus, oh, I just made a mistake. The greatest common factor is not 5, it is 5x. I forgot about that. I got to factor that x out. So let me start over. Let me do this. And let me write this over here. Goodness. So there's my 3. I got to factor out a 5x. There we go. And then 15x squared divided by 5x is just 3x. And then negative 10x divided by 5x is going to be a minus 2. Alright, so now I'm done with this portion of it, and I'm going to focus on this now. Okay, what's the greatest common factor for 9x and minus 6? It's just going to be 3, right? So I'm going to pull a 3 out. 9x divided by 3 is going to be 3x. Negative 6 divided by, 3. I was pointing to the minus 2 there. Negative 6 divided by 3 is going to be a minus 2. So now here's where we're at. We got this big, huge expression here. And again, you know, the 3 that we factored out at the beginning, you can almost kind of ignore that till the very end if it helps you out, or just put the 3 off to the side. I don't know. But now you'll notice this expression here, they both have 3x minus 2, right? So that means I can factor a 3x minus 2 out of this expression here. And I'll put the 3 back down. And if I factor out my 3x minus 2, what I'm left with is 5x plus 3. So I put the brackets in here just for kind of clarity's sake, but I don't really need those brackets. Like I could rewrite this now if I wanted to as just 3 times 3x squared minus 3x minus 2 times 5x plus 3. And there is the answer for 29. So actually quite a bit of work to get from here all the way down to here. But that's the way it works sometimes. Okay, so one more. We got problem 30 now. Okay, so as you always need to start when you're doing these problems, like ask the question, 28, 26, 24, any common factors, and yeah, they're all even numbers. That means they can all be divided by 2, so I can factor a 2 out. So I'll do that at the very beginning. And now I've got a 14x squared minus 13x minus 12. Ouch. Okay, that means I'm going to get some pretty big numbers for this problem right here. Because the next step now, and I can, like I said, I can kind of ignore that 2 until the end if I want to. And maybe I'll do that for this problem. It'll mean that I'm writing less parentheses, right? But for now, let's focus just on this expression here. 14x squared minus 13x minus 12. And at the end of the problem, I'll do this problem at the very end. I'll just remember to tack that 2 back on at the end. So 14 times negative 12, that's going to give me a negative 168. A calculator is definitely helpful for these problems if I let you use one, which I probably will. Okay, so I need 2 numbers that when you multiply them together give you negative 168. When I add them together, they're going to give me this negative 13. Okay. So again, if this number is negative, that means one of these numbers is going to be positive, one of them is going to be negative. The negative number is going to have the bigger absolute value, as they say. Okay, and what, if you played with it long enough, hopefully you'd be able to see that the 2 numbers we need to use are negative 21 and 8. All right, so now we're going to rewrite this expression again, ignoring the 2 for now, with negative 21 and 8. So what we get is 14x squared minus 21x plus 8x minus 12. And hopefully you can kind of notice that this expression here is the same as this one up here. All we've done is instead of writing a minus 13x, we've written that as minus 21x plus 8x. But those simplify to minus 13x. So these 2 polynomials are equivalent. They are equal. But now what we need to do is bracket each part off. So these first 2 terms, we need to bracket them off, and the last 2 terms, bracket them off like that. Okay, now we're asking the question, 14x squared minus 21x, what's the greatest common factor? And that's going to be 7x. Okay, so 14x squared divided by 7x is going to give me a 2x. 21x divided by 7x is going to give me a minus 3. Over here, what's the greatest common factor of 8 and 12? That's going to be 4, I think. So we're going to do 8x divided by 4, which gives me 2x. And then negative 12 divided by 4, which is going to give me a minus 3. Now look at that. We've got 2x minus 3 in common, so we can factor a 2x minus 3 out. We factor that out. 2x minus 3 times 7x plus 4. Now here's the dangerous thing about separating this 2 off like this as I did, because you've got to remember that that's not the final answer. That's almost the final answer, but now I got to take this 2 that I pulled out at the very beginning, and I got to drop him back down in front of this expression in order to get the correct answer.